Hello everybody, welcome back to another Space Marine 2 video. So in this video guys, I just wanted to talk to you about mods, pros and cons. So pretty much I'm just going to talk about negatives, positives. I put a short out just the other day, and I also put this Terminator video out and how awesome it is. As you can see, I'm playing as the Iron Warriors, and you know it's a lot of fun playing as a Terminator. There's also a nice lovely flamer that they've also included. So mods, let's obviously start with the pros. So positives of modding, there's many positives. You've got to think in a certain sense, it lengthens the life cycle of the game. Like when the devs are finished with this game, we're still gonna have mods, and you know, if they're still willing to work on the game, obviously mod developers, not the actual developers, it'd be certainly good in the sense of longevity of the game and its whole life cycle. It'd certainly increase its playability for a couple more years. So what's the next point that I've got on here? So I've made a little notepad of pros and cons of modding, and I'm just going to make my way through it, so then, you know, oh my god, I'm so focused on my notepad I walked right past an enemy. So, second point is the community can add whatever they want. So, for example, like this Terminator armor is a great example of the community just stepping up. Well, not the community, well, in a way, yeah, the community are, you know, donating their funds to a awesome mod developer and his team to work on something as awesome as the Astartes mod, which is what I'm playing right now whilst I talk. Should have probably recorded a speaking and then talking, but I'd figure that I'd be a bit more well, trying to multitask. And you know, but yeah, the community can add whatever they want. I've seen a Duke Nukem mod on the Nexus mod page, and I just found that hilarious. I'm really tempted to make a video on it, just go through the campaign as Duke himself and see what kind of stuff that I'd pull off. In my opinion, it's absolutely hilarious, those kind of mods. You know, these silly little mods that can change the game just a little bit, just for you guys to have a little bit of fun. So yeah, that's my second point. So let's get on to the next few. Hopefully I don't fly through all my points, and this is a short ass video. So my third point is so this is a point where it's like, it gives us the perspective of we get to see what we could have, customization wise, weapon wise, class wise, and you know, it's something to think about. And textures getting bugged out on the Iron Warrior right there. But yeah, it's something to think about. You know, players are looking at this and just like, I wish we had that. And I certainly agree that, you know, Terminators should be a thing, but obviously they're very slow and cumbersome in the lore, so they really wouldn't fit in the game in that sense, I suppose. You know, you've got games like, is it Deathwing? It's a pretty cool game. I'd recommend, actually. I think I've seen games, but it'll look really fun if you have a good group of friends just to hang out and kill Xenos. Certainly an alternative to Space Marine being a third person, and that being a first person. So, my third point is complete creative freedom of what you get to add. So, the creative freedom in that sense is like, you know, you get to change the colours slightly. I know with the Astartes mod, he's changed the I think is it Ultramar Blue? He's changed it slightly so it looks a bit more like the models. He worked. Oh wow, slight camera glitch then. Yeah, he's edited a few other colours. For example, this Iron Warriors colour is a little bit darker, but I think it works. I really do. You know, have to deal with a Biovoid of flamethrower. This thing. So yeah, complete creative freedom, and it certainly it reflects in the mods. Like there's a mod that I've covered, and it is a Chaos Operations mod, and that will never happen because I don't think Games Workshop would approve something like that for Space Marine 2, because it doesn't fit their narrative of the game. I think that's the whole spiel that they ran when we asked for that kind of thing, which kind of sucks. But it would be cool to have heretic operations, or even something like Sniper Elite where you can invade people's games as a heretic. That'd be awesome. But then that'd need multi-level type stuff for the missions and stuff. But I would certainly enjoy it. It'd give off, again, another thing like that is Left 4 Dead 2, where you could play as the infected. So that'd be kind of cool. Imagine playing as a lictor and about to jump on your friends. You know, like a versus mode where there's like, you know, say there's 8 of you. No, it'd be 6 for this game, wouldn't it? So it'd be like 3 Heretic / Xenos, and then 3, you know, Space Marines. I think that'd be cool, but obviously that's not today's discussion. But yeah, like I said, it gives us, you know, the ability to just complete creative freedom and to maybe collaborate and talk to the devs and see what they think about these ideas. I mean, talking about collaboration with devs, I know that some of the dev team are in the modding hub of, you know, the Discord, which is actually really awesome to see that they're in full support of the modding team, which kind of blows my mind because not many games have that kind of relationship with the modders of their games. For the only major one that I can think of is Bethesda and games like Skyrim and, you know, Fallout. You know, they've got a big thing with you know, mods, and you know, it's a main thing of their games. Oh my god, I'm getting absolutely butched here. My god. Say I played the Cataclysm mod, you'd think I'd be better at parrying, but apparently not. So, the next thing, you know, like I said, I've got a little list here, is the ability to change the game to your liking. Like, for example, the Chaos Operations mod. It even changes the Heretic Astartes in the sense of, it changes them to Ultramarines, which is actually kind of cool. Obviously not all the enemies change, for example there's still Zangors and stuff like that, but it's still, you know, it's the ability to change the game to how you'd like it, and it's certainly a breath of fresh air when it comes to the mods and the game, and, you know, everything about it. So another point that I've made, I feel like I'm just repeating myself, is the potential to add new classes. So this has been a big thing with the Astartes mod. He's added the Chapter Master, the Chaplain, and the Apothecary, which is incredible to say. You know, we've been asking for an Apothecary class since day one, I think, of this game. It's been certainly something that's been on everybody's minds. There's been potential rumours of an Apothecary class being in the game. I've also seen rumours of this apparent class that they're adding being a Tech Marine. It's all over the shop, but yeah, the whole thing of you can actually play classes. If you just play the normal Astartes mod, you get the Apothecary, the Chapter Master, and the Chaplain. As you can see behind me, there is a Chaplain getting his arse handed to him by a lictor, but I think he's actually, yeah, he's getting back involved. Okay. No, he's still getting beaten up. Yeah. Point not proven. So yeah, the different classes is a breath of fresh air. So another one is we can add new armor, new custom models of now being, you know, worked around and, you know, actually figured out through the modding tools that have been provided by the developers, which again goes back to my point of the collaboration between the mod devs and the game devs, which is a big deal in the sense of, you know, ooh, don't think so. I saw that. You can just go to sleep. Get rid of you. Get rid of all the little guys then. Just gonna keep talking to you guys. So yeah, the you know, the addition to armor. He's Warhammer Workshop. I know I talk about him a lot in my videos. He's an absolute. He's like the messiah of the Space Marine 2 community. He's really just come in and just like in a glorious glow. Just added loads of stuff to the game that potentially would have been absolutely, like, it would have given the game, I think, a 10 out of 10 if it was vanilla, if it was, you know, completely like actual game dev made. If it was game dev made and the game came out like the Astartes mod, I think the game would have excelled in more ways than they would have realised. I do think they're very limited due to Games Workshop, but that's just a whole nother conversation. There is a pattern with their behaviour and contracts with game developers when it comes to games. I've heard things about, I think StarCraft's meant to be a 40k game. I've heard stuff like that about Games Workshop, but that's a whole different discussion altogether. But yeah, the custom models thing and the devs collaborating with the modders to get, you know, i.e. Terminator armor. You know, I'm actually playing as a Iron Warriors Terminator right now, and if it wasn't for mods, we wouldn't have this, you know. It would be certainly very difficult, like, if it wasn't for the developers fully embracing mods. I do think that we wouldn't have this right now. And, you know, Games Workshop can't contract, they can't force modders to not do this, you know. Like with Space Marine 1, we had full creative ability to do stuff on there. Mod-wise, you know, people would go in playing as Imperial Fists, Raven Guard, you know, Death Watch, all sorts, and just like slight changes to the campaign, which is incredible when it comes to such an old game. And I certainly do believe that those mods kept that game going for a bit longer than it should have. And, you know, it's an incredible game anyway, Space Marine 1. But yeah, you know, as well as new armors, you can add new weapons such as this Stormbolter, which is absolutely incredible. You know, the Terminator Heavy Flamer, which is just never expected that. Obviously in the Chaos operations, you've got new, well, not technically not new bosses, but you know, a boss from the campaign, you know, Imara. You wouldn't really expect him in an operation, which is pretty cool, and I'm certainly, you know, it adds a little bit of something extra, because playing against the Hellbrute all the time does get a little bit tiring. Yeah, of course you do. Your defense suck though. Anyway, yeah, they don't have very good siege tactics to these guardsmen. Anyway, so enough Iron Warrior talk. So yeah, like before the Enlightened Zango came out, he was in the Astartes mod as, you know, something they found in the files, so they added him, you know, off a whim, and literally the update after we got the Enlightened Zango. So it's stuff like that. Obviously, I don't think we can do that anymore. We can't add enemies into the game through mods, which makes sense, because it kind of ruins the whole thing of the developers showing us these new enemies. Like the Biovore wasn't in any sort of mod whatsoever, because the you know, at the time of that mod releasing, update releasing, the developers were actually working with the mod devs. So, you know, you've just got to think that it certainly does benefit the game in the sense of well, you don't really want it spoiling what the new enemies are, so it kind of works out in that way. But yeah, so that's all that's all my positives that I had for modding. So if you have any more positives that you think I should have included. Obviously, I had literally like a quick 10-minute brainstorm before I started this video. One of my first videos where I actually prepared. That's probably going to be probably a running joke on my channel where I rarely prepare for videos. I just literally I wing it most of the time and just chat and yap away at stuff and just literally go off. Or shouldn't have fired that. Get rid. So yeah, let's get into the negatives of modding. So my first point that I got, and I got it straight away, when I posted that short that I uploaded the other day, also to TikTok. Yes, the beloved, well, I won't call it beloved, it's certainly a unique platform in the sense of, just blows my mind, just TikTok sometimes. But yeah, that's something. So when it comes to negatives of modding, the developers can get a lot of negative backlash in the sense of, why don't we have this? You know, why did I put that down there? It doesn't need to be down there. You know, like people saying, why don't we have this? Why don't we have that? When the the modders add it in themselves, and it can get pretty toxic and pretty nasty, because then people start saying, oh, these developers don't know what they're doing, this, that, the other, you know, and it can get pretty negative. And it's, you know, they've done an amazing job as is, you know, like, look at the architecture, look at the background, you know, all this. I mean, that's obviously a flat image, but it's beside the point. You know, the environment, the story they built, everything about the game, vanilla wise, is actually pretty good. There's no microtransactions. There's just flat DLCs that just add stuff to the game, and it's certainly a breath of fresh air when there's other games out there like Fortnite and Call of Duty where they're just constantly throwing out just sometimes it can be just rubbish, just skins after skins after skins. There's no actual content to it, and it really sucks. But I do think the modding can have a negative effect on the developers when it comes to content being added. People are like, oh, we want that in the normal game, kind of thing. And I have another point here saying it makes the vanilla game feel a bit boring. Like the extensive customization in the Astartes mod, as you can see, like the Iron Warriors finally get their stripes on their shoulders. Simple stuff like that, and people are just asking again, why can't we have that? But it does make the I honestly, if it wasn't for the new updates and new content, I have grown bored of the vanilla game. Obviously when all this new content comes out next week, which is actually kind of crazy, it's certainly something to it's like the mods patching up the holes that the developers are basically not filling up, and it fills something in like in the game to make it actually feel it. Sometimes, not all the time, a bit like it's got a bit more content, but yeah, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth when it comes to get rid of that thing. Get rid of you as well. There you go. So yeah, those are my first 2 points. Another thing is it's dividing the player base in the sense of PC versus console, and you see all these PC players like myself playing the game in a modded format, and all these console players are like, wow, this looks incredible, but we don't have it, so it kind of upsets us. And I understand, because I used to be a console player and I'd see all these mods in games. When I used to play Skyrim on the Xbox 360 before they added mod support, I used to be really upset because, you know, I'd see all these awesome mods on the PC version. I was like, oh, I wish I could do that. But then as soon as I got Fallout 4 and they added a whole modding section to that thing, I went absolutely ham with the mods in Fallout 4. In fact, I think I've got about nearly 600 to 1,000 hours on the Xbox One edition of Fallout 4, so I don't know if that can, well, if that just explains the whole thing of, you know, consoles missing out on mods is a big deal, in the sense of it's just, like I said, it leaves a sour taste in people's mouths when they see, for example, a Terminator in the PC version of Space Marine 2, and they're like, damn, I wish I could have that, and it really does suck. So, another point I've got here, it shows, like, cracks in the vanilla content. Like, would you believe this guy right here next to me is a tactical Space Marine? He's, you know, like, the customization is, it's actually really good. You know, like, I'm just mind blown. If you look, he's got, like, mixed armor. I tried my best to make it look somewhat mixed. You know, he's got like the pauldron from the assault, and then he's got another pauldron from the assault. He's obviously got the Mark III and the Mark III with a very custom chest plate. You know, stuff like that, and it certainly, well, I feel like I'm talking so much I need to breathe. Certainly does feel like the customization is a little bit lacking after you've played modded. And, you know, it just shows little, like, cracks in the vanilla content that don't quite hit the same than, obviously, playing modded. Work through this line. So, yeah, that's another point that I made. So, another one is, I mean, it's just understandable, it's just a basic negative of modding, is it causes stability issues for the game. I have I have my first playthrough of the Cataclysm mod, and I crashed my game. So simple stuff like that, where it's like, that shouldn't happen. You know, it's simply because the game was modded and manipulated to have more enemies. You know, visually attacking you and being thrown at you. So that's just, you know, the Cataclysm mod itself, that's just kind of crazy. Another one is, obviously it's not very complex to mod Space Marine 2, but mods in general, it can be complex. I don't know if they're trying to change how you implement mods into the game, I'm not 100% sure. I know the Heretic Astartes mod required me to download an exe that kind of like installed all the models onto the game for me, so I didn't have to smash them all into into my game through WinRAR. You know, it's something like that. My god, I'm talking so much. I've got to the boss fight. That's actually really funny. I didn't really expect myself to get this far with my discussion, I'm not gonna lie. There we go. So, yeah, that's another thing. It could be time consuming or complex. Obviously, it's not that complex as Space Marine 2. It's a simple case of drag and drop. So, that's a dodge. Give me the little guys. So yeah, it's not really that time consuming, but in the case of mods in general, it can be quite complicated if you start using mod managers and stuff like that. But you don't have to for Space Marine 2, which is kind of a bonus in a way. Sort your shit out, bro. So yeah, another point I've got, which is exclusive to just Space Marine 2, is you're forced to play private games. There's no like game search type thing for the modded version. I mean, it'd be really cool if we had some sort of like a hosting system where you could search for games. I forget what they're called. I know that they had them for like DayZ and stuff like that. It's certainly beneficial for like a modded DayZ server. You know, if you don't have said mods, you can't join said server. You know, stuff like that. But you know, I think it'd work. I think it could work. You know, if they implemented it correctly. I think it really could work, something like that, so then we don't have to basically find Discord servers and force ourselves to well, it would be nice just to be able to join a game and just play the game. You know, you don't have to go for a whole spiel of trying to find people. I mean, it's great talking to people, other people in the community who love playing the game, but you know, it adds the layer of, you know, communication, but at the same time sometimes you just want to play and have randoms with you, and you know, it'd be awesome if we had the ability to do that. But you know, I better start wrapping this up. Yeah, so the last negative of modding is it used to ruin console players' games. It used to reset them back to 0, so that's a big no-no. But yeah, that is about it for my pros and cons of modding. If you did like this video, please leave a like. If you didn't like the video, leave a dislike. I'm certainly intrigued on what you guys have to say about modding, and you know, leave a comment on what you guys think of modding in general. Yeah, if you did like this, if you just want to keep up to date on everything that I do, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.